Hello, welcome to another video for Alpha Strike We Play, and today we're going to be talking about Cool Mini or Not's game Dark Age. And I have with me Matthew and Seb. So we're all in Perth, and these guys are pretty up to speed on the game for the different aspects of it. So I just wanted them to come along and basically talk to you about the game, so see if it's something that you might want to actually have a look at. So tell us, what is Dark Age, Matt?
Dark Age is a future post-apocalyptic game, skirmish-based game, set in a planet that was at the outskirts of space. The central government said it's not worth terraforming this planet, it's too costly. All the corporations went, excellent, no oversight, we're going to do our illegal weapons, biological terraforming programs on this planet. And then central government collapsed, so the corporation just pulled out all its high executives and all its educated staff and anything worth salvaging from the planet, and just abandoned the workers there to the local wildlife and mutagens and all sorts of things. And then the game is set basically 100 years on from that event.
Wow. Okay. So sort of your classic sort of sci-fi what-if scenarios that could happen. It's pretty likely, if you sort of look at how humanity is, that's probably what's going to happen. So the factions that are actually in the game, it's all what's happened after everybody left? Is that how they've all formed? Or
yeah, so effectively the Dragiri, this is the ice caste from the Dragiri, there are different castes within there. They're the closest thing to natives the planet has. They were originally the slave caste from the smaller people who haven't got any on the table at the moment. And then they realised, hang on, we're big and tough. We just defeated this other alien race, which has now come back to the planet, the Kukulkani. So they overthrew their masters, and now they created a caste society. They're the closest thing to natives. And then from the humans, you've got the Forsaken, which are effectively the saints, based on like a papal type system. And then the outcasts, which are the people that want to live free from the religious regime. And then you've got the people that were chucked out of both those groups, the Scarred, who are the mutant cyborgs, flesh-eating nightmare people, basically. And apart from the Dragiri and the Kukulkani, who even the Kukulkani have roots in humanity a little bit back in Aztec history, they're all human-based groups.
Okay, so they've undergone changes because of what's happened on the planet and things like that? Okay.
So the Scarred embraced all the mutagens and all the augmenting themselves to better suit the environment. The Forsaken tried to sort of keep the semblance of civilization together and stay as pure as possible. And then the outcasts just eke out a living, whether it be from preying on other humans as slavers or selling salt and other things that are found out in the wastes as the salt flat nomads.
Oh, okay. So
all the factions have sub-factions with different focuses.
Okay. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, we'll talk a little bit about how the game actually plays based on what you just said, if there's like sub-factions and things like that. So what exactly is the game? How does it play?
I'll leave this one to Seb to explain a bit about that.
A basic 20-sided dice game. So different characters have different abilities. Some from stun, which we'll go into a bit later, toxic, knockdown, just effects, and then you base your force on their abilities. So for example, these guys, ice, big hitters, lots of wounds. Smaller miniatures, less wounds, but again different effects.
Okay, so they have, I can see some monstrous sort of sized creatures here. Do they do like the standard thing from other games, so they can absorb a lot of hits? You sort of go
so
after
depending on the sub-faction you're going for, so there is a toxic cult. So this one particularly is a toxic cult abomination, and it spits out a lot of toxic counters which debuff your opposition team.
Okay. So it's a D20 based system. It's skirmish, I take it, because we're on round bases. Yep. Standard size game would be what, roughly?
Miniature count wise, the games are basically broke down into 500, 750 and 1,000 point games if you're going tournament wise. They can be less or more. For example, the starter pack, which we've got here, if Seb just ducks to the side of it, is two 450 point forces. Basically, some of the Ice Casts and some of the St. Isaacs here, or the Forsaken and the Dragiri, sorry. So within that 100 points, you have units that range from 25, 50, 75, 100 up to 200 point models. So it's up to you to pick how many you wish to have. You can have a whole pile of little guys that just try and swarm the enemy and run objectives, or you can have a couple of them. For example, the Toxic Cult could just take both of these guys for 400 points, and then something like this, which is almost 100 points. So that's 3 models to fill out a 500 point army.
Wow. Okay.
As opposed to just 25 point models swirl everywhere. So
okay. So people who are used to playing like large scale games, it's probably
far less miniature count.
Yep.
You can basically, for most of the faction starters, you can just take the box and that's enough to play at least the basic games, depending on which group you pick. So.
Okay. So is it like scenario based or?
There are various scenarios ranging from a big corpse pile in the middle that you've got to run corpses away from, or trying to reactivate a communications tower. So there's varying scenarios, and with each of the scenarios you actually have secondary objectives, which you keep hidden from your opponent unless the card actually specifies, and that's the other way that you can sort of be getting victory points, not necessarily trying to wipe out the other team, but actually trying to sneakily go around them and do stuff.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be trying to table your opponent and knock them off the field. It can be sort of skirting them. For example, at the last tournament we had, James and Nathan were playing each other. Nathan was just trying to knock James off the table and almost did. Probably another turn he would have been completely wiped out, but because James had just been running around doing objectives, he actually ended up taking the victory.
So there is more than one way to actually win
for sure.
a game. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So picking scenarios, picking your forces,
and you can
all that
actually
is
tailor
different.
the secondary objective deck to how you wish.
Okay.
There are 30 something cards, and you're only required to have 16 with you. So you can tailor the objectives you have for your force. If you don't want any shooters, you don't take any of the secondaries that involve shooting someone from a range, for example. If you don't like having to spend too long around objectives, you don't take those ones. So you can tailor the deck and to suit your force, and then the other thing that the game allows is 150 point sidebars, no matter what you play, which is basically 150 points of miniatures that you can keep to the side, and should the scenario require it, you can swap out miniatures to better suit the scenario.
Okay.
So it allows you a little bit of fluid movement as well.
So is that for like a tournament as well?
That
That's
can be
the
for
standard thing?
That is for a tournament situation, yeah.
Wow, okay. Because I did see that Cool Mini or Not does actually do a tournament, sort of worldwide tournament sort of set up for this. It's the Immortals, is that right?
Immortals.
That's
Yeah?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
The beautiful thing about the Immortals that
Yes.
I'll let Seb explain this one.
Once you win that tournament, you're immortalised with a character, which tends to be the bounty hunters. So from that small group here, these are the bounty hunters here.
Yeah.
So Clank was a winner maybe 2 years ago. So John Carter Clank, the guy that won it, the immortal winner, decided to immortalise himself with John Clank, the miniature.
Oh wow, okay.
Target here is another one of the Immortals winners. So they have, sorry, the Cool Mini or Not has a great support for the community. It's one of the games that whenever they release errata or rule changes or anything, you don't need to pay money to get the new cards or the new book. It's all free to download, so everything, secondary objective decks, templates, rule books, the unit cards, everything. As soon as they release something new, it's free to download. You don't have to pay anything extra to keep up
Wow,
with it.
that's actually really good, because I know there are some companies out there that actually they don't really offer like a digital download of any kind, so you sort of have to buy the new books. So I mean, that's how they make their money. Fair enough.
You can spend a lot of money on them, yeah.
But but I mean, there's so many sort of products out there now. You know, like you want to try and play everything, but if money's a bit tight, then So is this a good game to get into, like if you're on a budget?
Yes, in that you can have a force for roughly $100, and you've got a force that can play competitively.
Okay.
And then should you wish to later, for example, going back to the Forsaken, you can align yourself with a saint, and then within that you've got a whole host of generic models with different abilities that can supplement weaknesses you have within your force. So you can choose to buy those to add in, or you can just stay set within the saint, their group. So there's a lot of variation that you don't have to buy in order to play competitively. But if you want to change the angle of how you're playing, then yeah, you can add bits and pieces in later. And low model count doesn't require a whole lot of effort to paint.
Yeah. Okay. I can see. Have you painted a lot of this stuff yourself? Or?
I have.
Yeah.
Seb's been very helpful in changing all the lights and doing some electrical work in our gaming area. For that, I've helped paint all his stuff as well as my own. So,
nice.
yeah. And for anyone in Perth that does get into Dark Age, one of the things that is up on the Dark Age group is I'll happily paint the first box you get for the game for free if you want. If you can't be bothered doing it yourself or you don't have the time.
Or tips, or
tips are always good. I think painting tips and gaming tips
get you
as well.
Involved in gaming too, yeah.
So more than happy to do that. For anyone that doesn't like the painting side but loves the playing, it's an offer we have in within the group within Perth that I'll do that for you. So
that's pretty cool. So this is going to be a tough question for you because you've painted a heap of stuff from all the different factions. What is your favourite faction? Why did you pick them?
I'll let Seb do his.
Oh, okay, all right.
After a lot of research, Matt getting me involved with the game, I began with Saint Johann and playing with Saint Johann, which is he's hiding behind the abomination. He has the claws and he's the scorpion saint. I fell in love with the Prevailers, who are like the church group that controls the Forsaken.
Okay.
So they're miniatures. Particularly the saints. So these are the archangels. I fell in love with the archangels. They don't have anybody in them. They do, but they don't have anyone in them.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. So they look like a big battle suit or something. Is that what it is?
Yeah, essentially.
Essentially? Yeah. Okay.
So they come from the heavens. The archangels.
Oh, okay.
They conveniently blow up and destroy any evidence of whoever was in them every time they get killed, and then a new one pops up.
Okay.
And I think my favourite model in them would be the War Knight Captain. So just that Centurion sort of
I did actually see them. They are cool. Yeah.
And I think across the Dark Age communities worldwide, I think they've become one of the most favourite models. Just I can't really explain more. They've got a pipe-made shield and just that Centurion feel in the sci-fi feel. Just awesome. Yeah. Just a very cool.
They do look very cool actually. When I was first taking a closer look at Dark Age, I was just looking through some of the models that they made. Those guys did actually stand out. So yeah. That's cool. So have you figured out which one you want to tell us?
The group I love playing is St. Luke. We've got him here normally, and then his mounted version on his big cyborg mechanical ball thing. So that's another thing to note. That the Saints can also be found in upgraded or mounted versions, which is the way of getting the highest point model for their group. St. Luke is a bit of a tricky one to play, in that his gimmick is he can pop smoke grenades everywhere that all of people that work with him specifically are not hindered by, but everyone else attacking them is hindered by the smoke. The trick there is that if someone else gets the first activation of the turn and you haven't had a chance to lay down your smoke, then you're a little bit vulnerable at that stage, but otherwise he's good fun to play. Much more tactical than some of the other Saints. For example, Johann, you just need to get close to someone and you just tear them to pieces. And St. Isaac is all about shooting with all the robots and stuff. So he's a bit. I haven't finished painting the other version, but he also at the start of each turn you can select whether you have him with his combi gun or with his giant spear. So he has two options for him: a close combat and a ranged option.
Very tactical unit.
Yeah. So do all the factions you can customize them quite a bit, or are some a bit more restricted than others? What?
Yes, you can customize them to whatever degree you want. For example, you can play as the Saints and not actually take the same model with the group. if you like, if you don't want to have to invest that many points in the Saint, you can still pick that group and just take some of the grunts, which generally have the same abilities to a lesser degree than the higher models in the group. But I don't know if you've got anything to add to that.
It sort of depends on the size of the game as well, whether you're paying a 500, 750 or 1,000 point sort of force. We've played some quite big games at 2,000 points, which you're looking at 30 to 40 models. But when you're when you're playing like a 500 or a 750, you sort of, sometimes you can't really take the Saint. You've got to take some of the lower miniatures so that it's a bit more, I suppose the game pushes and uses that sub-faction's more tactical aspect.
Okay.
So each sub-faction has a different value which you take them for. Like Rex was just saying, St. Isaac's a predominantly shooting sort of force.
Yep.
Johan and the Scarred, very much close combat, melee sort of battle style. So the game does sort of lend out to different styles of play.
Okay. Is that why you were sort of attracted to the system? Because you can customise?
Absolutely, yeah. Just for a small force of 500 points, you can have these guys who are quick attack, really expensive, but really good when they get up close.
Okay.
And then if you want to play big hitters like the Abominations or Mongo, which is one of the leaders of the Outcast, they are really expensive models, high wounds, but again, hard to take down. So
they get the job done, sort of thing.
Exactly right.
So for example, the last game we actually demoed at another place was Seb took all 3 of the Archangels and just one other group, whereas I took a whole bunch of smaller models, and up until I think the second last turn it looked like he was going to get it, but I managed to finish him off with all my lots of little stabs rather than a few big hits basically.
Yeah.
So
the game doesn't lend to spending a lot of money on big units. It's more about the way you use your units.
Okay.
In your force. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you choose to use the big ones, by all means that'll work if you play to the strength. But if you and I mean ultimately in any dice-based game there is luck with the dice. I think he rolled more crit failures than I've ever seen him roll in any other game, which resulted in me not having the same results.
Which is, I think, another one of those attractive things about the game, because it is based in like a post-apocalyptic sci-fi sort of world's turn to curry powder sort of situation. Weapons are malfunctioning, so guns do malfunction quite easily because of that lack of upkeep. People that sort of base themselves more on the melee and the close combat side of things have an advantage because they don't malfunction as much. So you weigh up your weapons against your knives. It's just it's one of those really clever games.
Oh my God! So you might have a really good weapon and suddenly it's not working. It just blows up in your face. Or that's actually kind of cool.
For example, the starter pack with St. Isaac in his big battle suit, he has the option to overpower his gun in various ways, and should you malfunction, however you've overpowered it, hits you.
Oh.
So you can have the big argument of I'm going to hit you with a powered up shot, and then you crit fail and end up you taking that hit. So, so there's again, as we were saying, you've got to weigh up the risk associated with having the ranged and powerful weapons versus how often they're potentially going to malfunction against just having close combat beat sticks basically.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that actually sounds really good. Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the mechanics side of things. So if someone's actually, because they'll probably want to know that if they're going to sort of pick an army. Because some people, they like the look of a model or they want a certain play style. So just give us some basic information about, like, how does a turn play out? How does the mechanics work?
You basically roll to use the 20-sided dice, and the lower numbers are the better numbers in this particular game.
Okay.
So if you play D&D and you're always dying and rolling terrible, this is the game.
This is it. Okay.
So 1 is the perfect number, 20 is the worst.
Okay. Well, that's weird. It's opposite. Okay. That's kind of cool.
The models themselves don't get customised too much. What they have, what you see on them is what they have and what you see in the game.
Okay.
So there's not a lot of, sometimes you play games a bit like Necromunda and whatnot, and they can be customised and added on. This isn't quite like that. There's no add-ons and customisations. The characters are much set. They are characters rather than like grunts and whatnot. So,
Okay.
And then within the turn, you roll at the start, and whoever actually wins the activation, they can choose to have the first turn, or they can select an enemy model to go first. So if you want to know where an opponent is going to place their unit, so you can then counter that, rather than taking the first activation, you might make them activate a specific model. So then you can see where that model goes and counter accordingly. So
Wow, that's cool.
winning is not necessarily going to mean that you take the first turn. You can use it tactically to sort of reposition after your opponent's been made to move. So
Okay.
and then within that, you just alternate between activations, and activations can either be a single miniature, or, for example, in a group of miniatures that have the same squad link name, you can link a group of people together in a single activation and move them. Then whoever is the focus of that link has to move first, and then the rest of them move in whatever order they want.
Right.
So you can
Okay.
choose to do the back and forth single activating, find out where things go, or just activate en masse and try and swamp somebody, basically.
Okay. Yeah. I've always sort of been a fan of the systems where it's you go, I go, you go, I go, rather than you move your whole army and you, because you, depending on how you set up, you can decimate the other guy. So he's not going to have much fun because there's not much stuff left. So
especially in this game where a lot of the guys don't have multiple wounds and all sorts of things. Although having said that, some of the people have specific reactions. So within the Forsaken group, sorry, focus on them because they're the ones I mostly play with. You've got different units. So in the army, you start off as a Bane. If you're particularly good at being a Bane, you become a Ravage. If you're really good at killing people, you're a Strike. And then if you're a bit too rebellious, you get turned into a Firestorm. A Firestorm is someone with lots of volatile chemicals strapped on their back and a flamethrower. And if they die, they explode in a big thing. So you can use them tactically to run them right up into the bunch of enemies and then go, all right, well, now I'm going to die and I'm going to take all of you with me. So even in death, certain models can be quite dangerous.
Very advantageous.
wow. Okay.
So,
From a tactics point of view, that's actually kind of interesting, and that's just one troop type. So
yeah,
it's
so
really efficient at killing, but you don't want to attack it because it might kill you as well.
But in the same way, they also malfunction quite easily, and when they malfunction, you've got to spin to find out which direction their flamethrower goes. So they may just torch all their friends in the one hit. So
And you have 3 explosions in your own ranks. So
cool.
yeah, the malfunction does definitely important. Very key point of the game.
yeah, there are units that allow you to ignore a certain amount of malfunctions, but then you've got to factor in whether it's worth taking those in for the point cost, or whether you just want to risk the odd explosion. So,
Is it a certain amount of turns? So is it like a fixed, say, 5 or 6 turns and then that's it? You end the game? Or you're saying points or something with your secondary objectives and stuff?
Yeah, so it is. It's an 8-turn base game, and then you roll to see what scenario the game will be.
Okay.
So some scenarios will have you set up 6 inches from the board, some 12, some on a corner, some just there's various depending on the scenario.
Wow. Okay. Oh, that's
And
kind
then-
of cool too.
So you roll to begin, see which scenario you do, and then you will set up your objectives, and that's where the objective cards become quite crucial.
Okay.
so each of you is able to place 3 the objective markers across no man's land, wherever that be according to the scenario.
So in that scenario, some of them they can be dangerous, some of them they could be crucial parts of the game that you need to get to.
Okay.
I think that most scenarios rely on 10 points to win, and that includes the objectives, that includes the scenario objectives. So some scenario objectives are your secondary objectives are worth double points. So if you would get 1, you get 2. If you get 2, you get 4. If you get it's sort of that sort of situation.
Okay.
And the scenarios change. There's one scenario where there's a caravan in the middle, and you've got to push that caravan with your own miniatures into the opposition's setup, deployment zone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and then that would depend on the win. So sometimes they're not always 8 turns, but on average 8 turns. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So yeah, that's
8
actually
turns
good.
is the ceiling, so it will never go for more than 8 turns. It can finish really quickly depending on how lucky you are with the secondary objectives.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to select which one you pull each turn. You have your pile, you shuffle them up, and then you draw at a maximum of 2 each turn. So you can't quickly finish a game in the first couple of turns by picking the ones you like or that are going to be suitable.
Okay.
There is a bit of randomisation with your secondaries, and then you've got to move as suits depending on what you're doing there. So.
Wow. Okay. So there's quite a bit of randomness with the models and the basic rules as well, and your scenarios and everything. That actually sounds really cool. So and it sounds like it's actually quite easy for someone to get into as well. So they pick a faction. It's all pretty straightforward. Lots to choose from. Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
So I'd say on average, most people have a good hang of the game because of how well structured the actual unit cards are. You almost never have to look at the rule book. I think the only things we've had to clarify are a couple of the effects that aren't detailed on the card. For example, when someone's knocked down, what happens, and all sorts of things like that. But otherwise, everything is on the card, and that's all you need to know. So the average person has a hang of the game before they finish their first game, basically.
Wow. Okay. All right.
That's what I've found with demoing it all around the place, anyway. So.
All right. So if someone wants to actually get into it, what would be their first step? What's the best way to go about it?
Well, I would jump, if you have social media, jump on Facebook and jump in with the Dark Age Western Australia group and discuss with everybody there what they might like to buy, or jump online and have a look at Alpha Strike, and they've got a nice selection. And yeah, you can like, depending on what you want to do, if you want good looking, if you want to just go for the appearance of the models, then by all means just jump online and look at what they all look like. If you want to have a bit more of an idea of how different things play, like I said, jump on social media, try and discuss with any of us, or come along and ask for a demo, and we're more than happy to pop out depending on how far away you are from us. Interstate, I'm sorry, but
you can come to us,
yeah,
maybe.
That'd work. We're more than happy to demo. We try and get out, obviously family and work depending, at least once a week to various places. And
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so I think in recent history we've been to Morley, Bassendean, and then we try for a weekly game in Warwick as stratagem. So. Yeah. In which, we're getting a fair bit of interest there. So
that's good. Yeah, so the local scene is sort of picking up. Have you noticed?
Definitely growing in the last probably year or two. I'd say at least doubled our numbers of local people that have their own forces, and the people that play it, borrowing forces are even bigger than that. So
yeah. And how often do they sort of bring out new releases for this? Is it fairly regular?
Recently it has been.
Yeah.
We've had a February release, a March release. I think we're looking at having another release quite soon, yeah.
Okay.
And then with those releases there'll be like little card updates as well, which again are free online, so which is really handy.
Yeah, you were saying before that's actually quite handy because you don't want to be sort of forking out a lot of money to get new stuff. Like you're saying.
One of the things I really appreciate about the game is, cool mini or not, Brian Steele, who both writes the fiction for the game, play tests it, do all that stuff. It's very well loved game in that it's personalised. It's not somebody totally has nothing to do with the game, never played it, that writes the fiction for it. It's the people playing the game and designing the game that are writing all the fiction. So
yeah.
And then the Immortal winners are then included into the storyline as well. So every character is relevant, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that's actually kind of cool too. to get them into the fiction. So the fiction is fairly comprehensive. I had a look. So whichever sort of faction you want to go with, there's a backstory, and your characters, and even your basic dudes. They all have some sort of.
Well, as I alluded to before, the Kukulkani, their connection with humanity is they went to Earth and found the ancient Aztecs, and their society is sort of based on that. The Aztecs worshipped them, and they went, hang on, these humans are really great for being able to modify and sort of bulk up with our genetic variations and our other things. And so they took I forget what the number was, but they took a certain amount of the greatest Aztec warriors and just took them with them into space to steal the bioenergy from other planets. And conveniently, just before the conquistadors took them all out, so that's their excuse for losing. But yeah, it's lots of lore going right back, and yeah, so the factions that we don't have here that other people in Perth have are the core, which are basically all the killer giant robots, which were originally a terraforming program that would be sent with a couple of robots to a planet. It would harvest all the living energy to power more robots and basically just turn the planet into something for humans, and then it would shut down and the humans would rock up and take over. Only problem was it activated on the planet with only its core directives, so it can't distinguish that humans are who they are meant to be working for, so they'll just go kill all the humans in order to change the planet.
So they're just trying to survive like every other faction, essentially,
much,
just
yeah.
in their own way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the robots were even taught anger and fear thanks to one of the Geary sects trying to shut them down. So there's a slight glitch in the program, slowly degrading and getting more and more psychotic over time.
Oh my god. An AI with an understanding of psychology and stuff. Oh, dear.
Especially everyone on this table.
Well, that sounds really good. Is there any other sort of last minute info that you want to sort of share with people? Something that might sort of help them?
I suppose every miniature has a card, like we were saying before. So every character, every single individual character on the field has a card that you use to play with, and then your 20-sided dice is basically incumbent on that card. So whatever that value is, you've got one here.
Yeah, so
Is
probably going to be too. I'll take it out of that so the camera doesn't get it. And we won't go any too close. We might have a still shot of one later on.
Yeah.
But it's the character's effects, its health points, everything's on this card. So you're not having to flick through a codex or anything like that. It's all in front of you on the game of play. So you have all these cards in front of you, all their effects. So it's really, really easy to begin with. And then as you get on, it gets more complex as you want it to.
So you can sort of build it to whatever level you want, you and
Absolutely.
your mates want.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds good.
And as you can see here, this is probably not even half of what we've got. So if you do want a demo, we have quite a range of people that you can try out. And what we don't have, other people in Perth that
I'm more than welcome to go.
Can bring along. So yeah, so
Okay.
good fun game.
Right.
The reason I got into it was because my daughter jumped on my back and buggered my back for a little while.
Oh, you're out of commission, so I've got all this
To
time.
take up time, I finally got around to painting and playing some of the things I had. So.
But you seem to focus a lot on this game. Is there sort of anything in particular that you like about it that the other games that you've played don't have? Something that really...
Just how easy it is to pick up and how it's not reliant on, if I target your big model and take him out, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to win the game. So it's not one dimensional. There's lots of different ways you can play the forces. You can play, like I said, hyper aggressively to try and knock all of your opponent's models off the table, or you can be sneaky and try and do the objectives. And as you get used to the objectives, you can sort of see what your opponent might have drawn, even though there's several possibilities. So thanks to my daughter jumping on my back and injuring my spine meant that the two of us played paintball quite a bit, and I wasn't able to do that for a while, so I sat down and started painting some of the miniatures I picked up ages ago that I liked the look of, hadn't necessarily tried the game, and then as painting them I thought, we'll give it a go as well, and started playing it, and then roped Seb and several of the other guys from paintball into it, and it's grown from that. So
they still wanted the satisfaction of shooting you.
yes,
So they said, we'll just play it on. Yeah, we'll do this.
So for example, James, who plays the Ice Cast, is also one of our paintball buddies, and a few others in there. So, and then the community's for Dark Age has grown from that bunch of people, and then obviously Simon is not able to be here today with a lot of the factions that I lack. He's been into it far longer than I have. So.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, we'll see if we can rope him into a little video. Maybe he can give us some insight into some like his experience and stuff like that too. So obviously you were introduced by Matt. So what was it that sort of?
I fell in love with the background story of it all. I think just the just the fact that there's so many factions just going berserk on a planet that's just been left, just going, yeah, there you go, and then just the love from the creators as well. Just the fact, like, if you have an issue with a rule and you go online onto the Dark Age sites over in America, they're so quick to get back to you. Like
Yeah,
Brian
that's
Steele,
good.
if you have an issue, you put a question on. He is the first person to get back onto you.
Mm.
So yeah, we had a few issues with some rules that we weren't quite sure what the go was with. Some of the cards didn't, and the rule books didn't quite cover like I don't know. I think it's been fixed up since. But yeah, he was just so quick to get onto it and go, yeah, no, this is how it is, and what we actually meant for it was this, and then the cards changed. So
Okay.
yeah, he's
Oh,
very
wow, that's good.
receptive to feedback, which is brilliant.
Yeah. And it didn't cost you $1,000 to
No.
upgrade everything because we're changing the system now.
And I think another good thing too is I really like the Prevailer Council, and to have a 2,000 point army of Prevailers, I think it cost me $300. So, and that's every single model in their range. So for me, brilliant.
So that'd be okay. That'd be a fair amount of models for this game, for a skirmish.
Way too much for a tournament game.
I think you haven't even fielded your repentance yet.
No, I haven't. No, gotta do that soon.
So yeah, we're trying to work our way through. Like I personally haven't even played all the different models that I've got in fields, but we're slowly working through, trying to get all of them into a game to find out how they work.
You fall in love with some of the models, no? Like you just can't leave them on the bench. You got to put them on the field. So,
Yeah.
like I was talking about before, the firestorms, having 3 models that can run up the field, and then if you shoot them, potentially blow up, or if you kill them, they blow up and take that model out as well. It's just there's just a lot of love, and the detail is awesome.
Sounds like you like a bit of chaos in your in your games. Bad dice rolls isn't enough. I need my stuff to blow
Well, in
up.
particular, the Heretic Saint, Scorpion Saint, can actually enhance the firestorms for that activation, but the trade-off is that they die at the end of it. And you can use that tactically. You can run them up, shooting all the way in, and then once you've got them in the middle of the enemy, they die thanks to being made more powerful.
It's one of those games where you can't be too attached to a model, because sometimes it's better for that model to kill itself but take out 3 models than it is to sort of nest back and keep it alive, because you'll lose the game if you're not aggressive enough. If the conservative player doesn't always win.
And the catchphrase of the game that used to be on the back of all the original card was "everything dies," which is very true.
Very relevant.
As Seb said, you can't be attached to something. You've got to use it to its full potential, or you're pretty much, unfortunately, going to lose the game if you're not playing it. So.
Awesome. No, that sounds really good. Okay, so thanks very much, guys, for telling us about the game. We will actually be at Supernova Perth 2018. These boys here will be showing people how to play. So if this sounds interesting to you, come on down, come and see us, and you can you don't have to bring anything. If you already play, you want to bring your stuff, you can, but we will have some models here for you to try out. So it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be lots and lots of fun. So.
Yep.
So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.